Okay, good morning. Today, let's continue with the thermal stresses, and then in second part of the today's lecture, we'll study the last part of this lesson, that is the shear stresses and modulus of rigidity. Okay, actually that is also not a small part. At least two more lectures are required for that. Okay. Uh, Now, in the last lecture, we have see how to find out the thermal stresses in composite materials when they are connected in series and parallel. Yeah. One more sums I'm going to take related to that. And extremely sorry, as in the last week, 2-3 lectures I've cancelled for the strength of material. The reason is that now the final year exam, we have to conduct the final year exam. Okay, and because of that, we are busy in that work to conduct the project oral, oral of other subjects, then internal assessment too, and the question bank and the preparation for the final exam of the final year. Okay, so because of that, it becomes difficult to conduct the regular lecture. It doesn't matter. If we are lagging after this exam, we'll take the few more lectures and we'll finish that. Okay. Uh, then, and one more important thing, in the next week, here there may not be some SOM lecture. I'll ask the HOD sir to arrange, instead of SOM, to arrange some other lectures because I'm going out of town for a few days, 3-4 days. So there may not be any SOM lectures in the next week, but that other subjects will manage. Okay. I want to take only one last sum of this temperature stresses. We have solved the sums here when the two different materials are connected and if it is heated, we are to find out the temperature stresses. Here, one similar question is there. In the last week, I have not uploaded the recorded video also on the Google Classroom, but today mostly I will do that. Again, in the last week, few students asked me, sir, saying the question what we have taken in the classrooms, but at home I was not having this question bank. Hereby, so today I will send that questions also. Okay. This is the last question on the thermal stresses. As per our question bank, it is the sum number 31. I'll first draw the figure and then I'll explain. You also draw the figure and then write down the given data. This is the steel. Step rod is there. This is brass. And this is the aluminium. Okay. Here it is steel, brass, and aluminium. This length is 100 millimeter. This is 200 millimeter. And this is 150 millimeter. This is point A junction, point B junction of brass and aluminium C, and this support is D. Here this support is R and here this is given as S. Okay. All the data is given. I'll write down that data also. It is the value of E, value of alpha for the different material. This is first is the steel. The value of E is 210 kilonewton per millimeter square. And for steel, alpha is 12 into 10 raised to minus 6. Then for the brass, E is 105 kilonewton per millimeter square, same unit. And alpha for the brass is 19 into 10 raised to minus 6. The next one is aluminium. Modulus of elasticity of the aluminium is 70 kilonewton per millimeter square. And alpha, coefficient of the thermal expansion, is 23 into 10 raised to minus 6. This data is given. Okay. Then I'm reading the question. It is given that the composite section shown in the figure is held by the rigid supports R and S. Yeah, so this is a composite section rigidly connected to the support at point R and S. The portion AB is 100 millimeter long and is made of the steel and has a cross-sectional area of 400 millimeter square. I'm writing the cross-sectional area here. Cross-sectional area for steel it is 400. The portion BC is 200 millimeter long and is made of the brass. It has a cross-sectional area of 800. Brass cross-sectional area is 800. And the portion CD is 150 millimeter long and is made up of the aluminium. It has a cross-section of the 1200 millimeter square. These cross-sectional areas are given. Okay, question is similar, but only 3 parts are there. Here, how to solve that? That is important. Now, it is given, determine the stresses in each metal if the temperature drops by 50 degrees Celsius. Here, there is a drop in temperature. Understood? There is a fall in temperature. Okay, till now we have solved the question when there was a rise in temperature. Now this question we have to solve when there is a drop in temperature. Here the temperature drop is 50 degrees Celsius. Here means the change in temperature is 50 degrees Celsius. Now since it is a drop in temperature, here the assignments which I had given you in the last week, in that one I observed that if there is a drop in temperature, I ask you one question. Suppose when that was the exam question, when cable was laid in the ocean, the length, the distance was given, and it was asked to find out the length of that required length of that cable. Okay, so the onboard temperature of the ship is different, and the water temperature is different. Here, water temperature is less than the onboard temperature. That's why it was a similar case of the drop in temperature. What I observed at that time, few students here taken this drop in temperature as a minus. When there is a drop in temperature, so they consider it as a minus. So if you put it here, minus value, here, so this alpha TL, you will get a negative. So that negative sign means it is a decrease in length. Okay, you can solve that way also, not an issue. Yes, or if you put this T as it is, just remember, here it is a drop in temperature, so the length will get reduced. If there is a rise in temperature, length will increase. Here this is a drop in temperature, the length will get reduced. There is a decrease in length. And since here we are adding these two lengths, two change in length. The first part is the change in length because of the change in temperature, and second part is the change in length because of the reactive forces exerted by these materials on each other. Okay, so we are taking the summation of this. I already told you that, yeah, if any one length, if there is a increase in length, take it positive. If there is a decrease in length, take it negative. Here, for example, means if there is a rise in temperature, here then this alpha TL will be the increase in length, so you can take it positive. If there is a fall in temperature, then this alpha TL will be the decrease in length, so you can take it negative. Okay, so for this, either you use minus sign over here or take T minus. Understood? Yeah. Next thing. Now for this, what I suggested, now actually this is a change in length because of the reactive force exerted by the other material or by the support. Now I told you that here, if there is a decrease in length because of that reactive force. Now when there will be the decrease in length because of the reactive force, if the reactive force is compressive in nature. Okay, so if I told you that if the material is in compression, take it negative. If the material is in tension, take it positive. Understood? But that you have to think logically. It is not depend on the change in temperature, rise in temperature or fall in temperature. Okay, to decide that whether it is in compression or in tension, for this such type of cases, it is different. When the materials are connected in parallel, the concept is different. Okay, yeah. So for first part it is easy, but for second part you have to think logically which type of reactive forces are induced here, and it is very simple now. Here, for example, for this term, before starting, let me tell you. Now there is a fall in temperature. If there is a fall in temperature, what will happen? Already we have discussed this. Here, if there is a fall in temperature, suppose this is the material here which is rigidly fixed at its two ends. These are the rigid supports. Now, if the temperature fall, here the material will try to contract, but this support will not allow that contraction. Yeah, and supports apply the tensile reactive force on the material to restrict that compression or contraction because of the change in temperature. Understood? Means when there is a fall in temperature and if the supports are the rigid supports, here which kind of reactive force they are applying? They will apply the tensile force. They will apply the tensile force. Here, so I am writing it as a reactive force at R, and this is a reactive force at point S. These are the reactive forces, and I hope that all of you understood this concept, why it is tensile in nature. On the other hand, instead of fall in temperature, if this would have been a rise in temperature, here क्या changes हो सकता था about these reactive forces? Unmute yourself and tell me. If there is a rise in temperature, इसमें क्या difference हो सकता था?
Compressive
force. Compression.
Compressive. Reactive forces will be compressive. Here, because if there is a rise in temperature, the material will try to expand, but supports will not allow that expansion, and they will, to restrict that expansion, here the support have to apply the compressive force or compressive reactive force on the material. Here, so when there is a rise in temperature, the nature of the reactive forces are compressive. When there is a fall in temperature, the reactive forces are tensile. Understood? Here, and you know that the stresses are not, temperature stresses are not induced because of this change in temperature. Actually, the temperature stresses are induced because of these reactive forces. But that reactive forces are induced or generated because of the change in temperature. That's why we know it as a thermal or temperature stresses. Okay. Yeah, so since here it is a fall in temperature, so these reactive forces are tensile in nature. Here let it is RR and RS. Yeah. And now instead of support, you have to consider these support reactions only. And if you apply summation of Fx equal to 0, you will find that RR equal to RS since there is no any intermediate force here. So I will write only R, reactive force here, and both are same. Okay. Now, if I draw the free body diagram, here, to draw the free body diagram of this AB, let's consider one imaginary section through and draw the FBD. So reactive force acting on AB is R. Similarly, reactive forces acting on BC is also R. I hope that you know this, how to calculate the axial force acting in each part. So I told you that consider one imaginary section through that and take the algebraic summation of the forces on any one side. On left hand side, on right hand side, only one force is there which is tensile in nature, so accordingly you can show it. Here if you show the CB part, this was AB, this was BC, and this is CD. And CD part is also subjected to the tensile reactive force R. Okay, so these are the reactive forces or axial forces acting on each part. Okay, now we'll solve the sum. Okay, now first you have to write down the load sharing relation. Load sharing relation. Till now we have solved the sums when only two different materials were there. Now it is the three different materials. Okay. Now, what load sharing relation we can write? Actually, this load is nothing but reactive forces here. Now, how the reactive forces are distributed among this material? Now, you will observe that no any intermediate force is there. So, on each part, the reactive force is same. It means that the reactive force, which is the axial force in AB, is equal to the axial force in BC, equal to the axial force in CD. Okay. Just 1 minute. So, reactive forces in all the three parts are same. So, load sharing relation becomes reactive force in AB equal to the reactive force in BC equal to the reactive force in CD. And we have to find out the stresses in all the three. So, I can write down stresses induced in all the three are because of these reactive forces. Okay, here, so the stress in the part AB, here, sorry, this reactive force in the part AB can be written in terms of stress. Here, so which is equal to stress in steel into area of steel. Here we know that the stress equal to the axial force into upon area. So this axial force is equal to stress into area. Here, so this reactive force or the axial force on the steel here can be written as sigma S into AS, which is equal to it is sigma B into AB. Stress in brass, which is equal to sigma C into sigma AL into area of aluminum. You can substitute the value, you will get one equation. If I substitute the value, area of the steel is 400. So it is 400 sigma S, which is equal to area of the brass 800 sigma B, which is equal to 1200 sigma AL. If I simplify this, I will get 4. Okay, I will get sigma S equal to 2 times sigma B equal to 3 times sigma AL. Equation number 1. If I divide the equation by 400. Actually, there are two equations. Sigma S equal to 2 times sigma B and sigma S equal to 3 times sigma AL. Here, but I have written it in one equation only. Actually, there are two equations. Okay. So, say these are the equation number 1. This is the load sharing relation in which there are 3 unknowns which we have to find out. Understood? These are the stresses induced in the steel, brass and aluminum because of these reactive axial forces which are same. Now, reactive axial forces are same, but the stresses are different. Why? Because the cross-sectional areas are different. Okay. Now, we got one equation. Now, next equation is the strain relation. We have to write down the strain relation. I told you that the strain relation is nothing but the relation of their deformation. Okay. Now, you will observe that here, this entire rod is fixed into rigid supports. Here, because of the change in temperature, whether there is a fall in temperature or whether there is a rise in temperature, the summation of the deformation of all the three, here, summation of deformation of all the three, since they are stuck or fixed in two rigid supports and there is no any scope for the further expansion. Yeah, so because of the change in temperature, जो भी deformation होगा, the summation of all the three deformation will be 0. Yeah, so strain relation is delta LAB plus delta LBC plus delta LCD is equal to 0. Summation of all the three deformation will be 0. Have you understood this? Clear? तभी हमने strain relation लिखा था delta L1 equal to delta L2. Here we have written that delta LAB plus delta LBC plus delta LCD equal to 0. Okay, I'm coming back to this. Yeah, last time in the last lecture we have solved one question. I don't know which was the one material was, I think, brass and other one was magnesium. Such type of arrangement was there, and this gap is of 2 millimeter. This gap was 2 millimeter. This was the brass and this was the magnesium. Okay. And it was given that when the temperature rise by 300 degrees Celsius, here what will be the stresses induced in these two materials? Here, at that time we have written the relation of the deformation or strain relation because of the change in temperature, since these supports are the rigid support and there is a gap of only 2 millimeter. Here, so दोनों का मिला के maximum expansion कितना हो सकता है? It is only 2 millimeter. Here, so delta L of brass प्लस डेल्टा एल ऑफ मैग्नीशियम, ये दोनों का मिलके डिफॉर्मेशन ज्यादा से ज्यादा 2 मिलीमीटर हो सकता है, बिकॉज देयर इज अ गैप ऑफ ओनली 2 मिलीमीटर. बिकॉज ऑफ दैट देयर इज अ स्कोप ऑफ फॉर द डिफॉर्मेशन ऑफ ओनली 2 मिलीमीटर. उससे ज्यादा डिफॉर्मेशन हो नहीं सकता है दोनों का मिलके. उसमें ये भी हो सकता है कि ब्रास का और मैग्नीशियम का डिफॉर्मेशन होगा 2.5 मिलीमीटर. अगर मैग्नीशियम का डिफॉर्मेशन 2.5 मिलीमीटर होगा here, so brass will get compressed by 0.5 millimeter. लेकिन दोनों का मिलके डिफॉर्मेशन 2 मिलीमीटर ही हो सकता है. Here Shubham is there. Shubham.
Yes, sir.
Who's Shubham? Shubham Irkar.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have understood this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Here same concept we are using here. Here after this in your question bank, similar question is there in which here this is one material, this is another material which is connected to this and they are in series and there is a gap of 2 or 3 millimeter over here. So इसमें भी same relation आएगा कि इसका deformation plus इसका deformation because of the change in temperature maximum कितना हो सकता है, तो जितना gap है उतना. अभी इधर gap ही नहीं है, सिंस देयर इज नो गैप, तो तीनों का मिलके जो डिफॉर्मेशन होगा वो कितना होगा, 0 होगा। मतलब इसमें ये भी पॉसिबिलिटी है कि इसका डिफॉर्मेशन अगर 1 मिलीमीटर हो गया, एबी का डिफॉर्मेशन अगर 1 मिलीमीटर हो गया और बीसी का भी डिफॉर्मेशन और इलोंगेशन 1 मिलीमीटर हो गया, तो this CD has to be get contract by 2 millimeter. Okay. Yes, and this depend on the strength of this material. It depends on the reactive forces exerted by the two material on the other. Yeah. So here I have taken it plus plus only. Delta L AB plus delta L BC plus delta L CD equal to 0. Now this is the final deformation of this part AB or the steel. This is the final deformation of the steel. This is the final deformation of the BC, and this is the final deformation of the CD. What I mean to say that the final deformation is nothing but the deformation because of the change in temperature plus because of the reactive forces exerted by these two materials on each other. Since this delta L is having the two different components, it is the final deformation because of the change in temperature and because of the reactive force. Here, so now we have to write it properly. Understood? Here I am using plus sign only. Here in the next step I will rectify that. Here also I have written plus only. But since this is a deformation, here I told you that you have to use the sign convention. What sign convention you have to use? For increase in length by any reason, you have to take it positive, and for decrease in length, you have to take it negative. Okay. Now here at this stage I don't know कि किसका elongation हो रहा है और किसका compression हो रहा है. That's why I have not used the sign convention over here. तीनों के लिए मैंने प्लस ही लिख दिया. नेक्स्ट स्टेप में भी मैं क्या करता हूं, देखो, दिस इज द डिफॉर्मेशन ऑफ द AB पार्ट, and this is the final deformation which include the deformation because of the change in temperature plus because deformation because of this reactive force. Okay, so here I am writing it. It is alpha TL plus sigma S into LS upon ES. Actually, it is for steel. It is for steel. Change in length because of the change in temperature and change in length because of this reactive force. Okay. Plus here also I am writing the alpha TL plus sigma B into L upon E for brass. Plus alpha TL plus sigma, third one is the aluminium, into length upon E. This is for aluminium and which is equal to 0. Okay. This each deformation, final deformation, is the summation of the two different deformation again. One is the deformation because of the change in temperature and other one is the deformation because of the reactive force. Okay. Here now important thing is here. Here all of you remember here. Listen here. This I told you that we are taking the summation of the change in length and you have to use this sign convention. Here now we will observe that here it is a fall in temperature. Since because of the fall in temperature, here this alpha TL will be the decrease in length. So you are supposed to take it minus. This is minus. And this is minus because it is a decrease in length because of the fall in temperature. Yes, either write it minus over here or take the temperature of minus 50. Automatically आपका ये minus आ जाएगा. Have understood this? अगर वो right in temperature आता था तो ये plus आता था. Understood? Okay. The next one, this second part. Here, this second part is the deformation because of the reactive force. I told you that if the reactive force is compressive in nature, this will be the decrease in length. So in that case, you have to take it negative. If it is a reactive force is tensile in nature, then because of that tensile reactive force, there will be the elongation, there will be the increase in length. So in that case, you have to take it positive. Here, so ultimately I said at that time, if any part is in tension, take it positive. If any part is in compression, take it negative. Now here you will observe that because of the fall in temperature, the reactive forces are tensile, and because of that all the three parts are in tension. And because of this tensile reactive force, here the change in length because of the reactive force will be the increase in length and all the three parts will be positive. Understood? Okay. Now just you have to substitute the value and get the answer. Okay, here I will give the 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, solve this question and tell me the answer. Here just have understood. I hope that all of you have understood this. Okay, this only you have to take it minus because of the fall in temperature. All the three parts are in tension, so you have to take this second part positive. Okay, here everything is known to you. Alpha is known to you, T is known to you, length of each part is known to you, E for each is known to you. Just substitute the value. Which are the unknown? Now unknowns are sigma S, sigma B, and sigma A. These are the three unknowns. And you have the three equations. Which are the three equations? This is one equation in which all the three unknowns are there, sigma S, sigma B, and sigma A. And here there are two equations. Okay, here there are two equations. One is sigma S equal to 2 sigma B, and second one is a sigma S equal to 3 sigma AL. Such type of two equations I can write. So this is one equation and this is two. These are the two equations. So solve that three equations, you will get the answer. Now how to solve that? After substituting the value, all the values, known values here, what you can do? Substitute this sigma B and sigma A in terms of sigma S, sigma B and sigma A in terms of sigma S. So that you will get this equation in terms of sigma S. Use solve function, get the value of sigma S, substitute that sigma S here, get the value of sigma B and sigma AL. Okay, you will get the numerical value here. Now, that numerical values will be positive. That positive doesn't mean that it is tensile. Understood? Here, that whether the nature of these stresses are tensile or compressive, that you have to decide on this concept depending on the reactive force. Here, so this is a falling temperature. Because of this, the reactive forces are tensile in nature. And because of this tensile reactive forces, the nature of the stresses are also tensile. Means in all the three parts, the tensile stresses will generate. Okay, I'll give the 5 minutes and solve this and tell me the answer. If you have any doubt, unmute yourself and ask me the doubt. Rehan, sigma S 197, sigma B 98, and sigma aluminum 65. One 97, 93, and 65. Okay. Sigma B I got 93. Means answer given is 93. Rehan got 98. Okay. Others two are okay. Sigma S equal to 2 times sigma B. Okay. Rehan, you are right. Your answers are right. What about the others? Raj, 197, 98, 65, right? Don't forget to write the nature also. Okay, in final exam, you are supposed to write the nature also, whether it is tensile or compressive. Okay, fine. Tanmay, Varad, all right. Okay, noted your answers. Now, we'll wind up or we'll end this topic, that is the thermal or temperature stresses here. And the next part now we have to study is the shear stresses, shear strain, then modulus of rigidity, and then we have to study the relation between the different elastic constants. Here, different elastic constants means what is the relation between the modulus of rigidity, modulus of elasticity, modulus of rigidity, bulk modulus. Here, all these are the properties of the material here, and what is the relation between them here, that we have to study. Okay, so let's start from the shear stress. Till now we have studied the stresses induced because of the axial force only. The nature of the axial stresses are either tensile or compressive. Now we are going to study the shear stresses. Okay, the stresses induced because of the shear force. Now what is the shear force and how to find out the shear stresses and what is the shear strain? Okay, that I will explain you. First one is the shear force. Okay. The shear force is nothing but the force which acts tangential to the resisting area. Here, till now we have studied the axial force. The axial force which acts along the axis. Here, this material resists this axial force. But in this case, the resisting area is this cross-sectional area. Means this axial force is perpendicular to the resisting area. Okay, in this case, here this axial force is perpendicular or normal to the resisting area. This is the resisting area. But shear force is tangential force, which is acting to the tangential or parallel to the resisting area. Here, for example, if I consider, suppose this is one box, cuboid is there. Let one surface is fixed. It is a cuboid. Okay, here and this surface is fixed. Now, if I apply the force like this, tangential to the surface, here, if suppose this is the surface box and if it is placed on this surface here, and if I apply the force tangential to this surface, here, then that force is known as a shear force. Here, so shear force is acting tangential to the surface, whereas the axial force is acting perpendicular or normal to the resisting area. Shear force is acting tangential to the resisting area. First difference. Second difference, I am talking about the shear force and axial force. Here shear force is tangential to the resisting area. This is normal to the resisting area. Okay. Second difference is that because of the axial force, there is a linear deformation. Because of the axial force, there is a linear deformation. Here there is a linear deformation because of the axial force. Whereas because of the shear force that happens, if I apply such type of tangential force, because of the shear force, there is a angular deformation. Shear force की वजह से क्या होता है? There is a angular deformation होता है. Here, for example, if I consider this, yeah, let's consider only front view. if I apply such type of tangential force here, then there will be this material may get deformed like this. Here, so this is the angular deformation. Okay, here, or for example, if I apply, listen, suppose this is one shaft. Here I apply the two equal, opposite and tangential forces on this. Suppose if I apply like this, two equal, opposite and tangential forces. These two equal, opposite and tangential parallel forces produce a torque. Okay, here, but actually these forces are tangential to this cross section. Okay, since they are tangential to this resisting area, because of this, इसमें क्या होगा, twist generate होगा, and twist is nothing but angular deformation. Okay, so अगर ऐसा forces act होता है, listen to me, अगर ऐसा twisting movement अगर act होता है, या तो अगर ऐसा tangential force इस पे act होता है, which is tangential to this cross section, यार यहाँ पे एक और यहाँ पे, तो उसमें angular deformation होगा. And whenever there is an angular deformation, which are because of the shear force, where the stresses induced are the shearing stresses. Okay, so the because of the shear force, the stresses induced are known as the shearing stresses. Yeah. So this tangential force is known as the shear force. I'm going to denote the shear force by F only. Okay. And how we can calculate the shear force? Sorry, shear stress. So shear stress, here remember one thing, the tensile or compressive or the axial stresses we denoted by sigma. Shear stresses are denoted either by tau or by Q. Here, either by tau or by Q. Here shear stresses. How to calculate the shear stress? It is nothing but the shearing force. Shearing force is nothing but a tangential force to the, now I am not writing here the cross-sectional area. Okay, here neither it was the cross-sectional area for calculating the axial stress. Here at that time also I told you that the axial stress or the stress is equal to the axial force upon the resisting area. It was a resisting area. Here also I am writing the same thing. That resisting area may be the cross-sectional area or it may be the any other area. But it is actually the resisting area. It is the area which resists that force. Okay. Here also I am writing shearing stress equal to the shearing force upon resisting area. Okay. And resisting area is different for the different application. Okay. How I am explaining to you. So shearing stress equal to the shear force upon the resisting area. Remember this. Now it is again the same unit, Newton per millimeter square. Yeah. I hope that it is clear. What is the shearing force? Shearing force is a tangential force acting on the resisting area, or when the force is acting tangential to the resisting area, it is known as the shearing force or shear force. Yeah. And the shear force per unit resisting area gives you the shear stress. Here, I will give some example of the shear force. Here, for example, suppose. Let's consider suppose this scissor. Then I cut this paper with the help of scissor. Here, how the force is applied on the paper? Here the resisting area is this area. It is very, very small. Okay, but this is the resisting area. Okay, and the force applied by the blade of the scissor is tangential to the resisting area. Understood? Here since the resisting area is very small, yeah, that's why easily it will get fail. ये जो कट कर रहे हैं हम लोग, ये कटिंग एक्शन जो है, एक्चुअली इट इज द फेलियर ऑफ द मटेरियल. हम लोग उसको फेल कर रहे हैं. यहाँ पे कट करने के लिए मटेरियल शुड बी फेल, वो कट हो जाना चाहिए. Understood? Here, whereas with the help of same scissor, if I try to cut this, is it possible? कितना भी फोर्स लगाओ, नॉट पॉसिबल. क्यों पॉसिबल नहीं है? यार इतना फोर्स तो मैंने ये पेपर पे लगाया ही नहीं था, लेकिन अगर यहाँ पे अगर मैं ज्यादा फोर्स लगाता हूं तो भी ये कट नहीं होता है. क्यों नहीं कट होता है? Why not? Because here the resisting area is more. Resisting area is more. यार ये मटेरियल का जो shear stress है, यार अल्टीमेट शियर स्ट्रेस की जहां पे फेल हो रहा है, दैट वैल्यू इज सेम, ये भी पेपर है, ये भी पेपर है, सेम है, बट बिकॉज ऑफ द इंक्रीज इन द रेजिस्टिंग एरिया द मोर shearing force is required here, which is not possible to apply with this scissor. Understood? So this, in this case, when I cut this with the help of scissor, so it is the resisting area. Understood? Okay. With the help of some punching machine, let's consider the punching machine. With the help of punching machine, हम लोग hole करते हैं. That is also the shearing process. Here, the hole which we make in the paper with the help of punching machine, that is because of the shearing action. That action is known as a shearing action. That process is known as a shearing process. Understood? यार, and यहाँ पे भी पंचिंग करने के लिए भी और ये कट करने के लिए भी यार हम लोगों को मटेरियल को फेल करना पड़ता है. Okay, means we have to generate such a force. We should generate the shear stress up to its ultimate value. यार अभी तक हम लोग ने जो स्टडी किया, इट वाज जस्ट अ सेफ स्ट्रेस एंड सेफ फोर्स, लेकिन कुछ कट करने का है तो हम लोगों को वो मटेरियल को फेल करने का है. अंडरस्टूड यार? सो shearing stress equal to the shearing force upon resisting area. Now what is the shear strain? I told that in shearing action here there is an angular deformation. Yeah. So if I write, consider this is the AB, this is A dash, B dash after deformation. Okay, and let this point is C and this is D. Here, so shearing strain, which is denoted by phi, here, or it is tan phi. This is the angular deformation. This angular deformation is known as the shear strain. Yes, so which we can write as a tan phi equal to AA dash upon AC. This AA dash upon AC. Here we have to find out this angular deformation. This angular deformation is nothing but a shear strain. Okay, but since this deformation is very, very small, here when the material is in equilibrium and when this force is within permissible limit, this deformation is very, very small, and when it is very, very small, this tan phi can be written as phi in radians here, which can be written as AA dash upon AC. Okay, so this is a shearing strain here, which is the angular deformation that you have to remember. Okay, here, any doubt? Okay, so shearing strain equal to the tan phi, which is equal to AA dash upon AC, or we can simply write it as a phi equal to AA dash upon AC. The next one is modulus of rigidity. Modulus of rigidity. This modulus of rigidity is denoted by either G or C. Now this modulus of rigidity is also one of the property of the material. Okay, just like a modulus of elasticity, all of you know how to calculate the modulus of elasticity. I told you that how to calculate the modulus of elasticity. On this universal testing machine, we have to take the specimen, we have to apply the load on the specimen here, and with the help of that load applied, here we have to calculate the stress and corresponding strain, and we have to plot the graph, and with the help of that graph, you can calculate the modulus of elasticity. That is the procedure. We have to get this property modulus of elasticity. Similarly, for the same material, we can calculate the modulus of rigidity also, which is another property. Now, exactly what is in the modulus of rigidity? So this modulus of rigidity is defined as within elastic limit. Okay, you know that stress strain curve. So just remind here what is meant by elastic limit. Here, so within elastic limit, the ratio of shear stress to the shear strain is known as the modulus of elasticity. Okay, and modulus of elasticity is the ratio within elastic limit, the ratio of here. Actually, it is the, we used to write only stress to the strain, but by default it is the linear strain or axial stress to the axial strain, or linear stress to the linear strain. That is the modulus of elasticity. It is a linear stress or axial stress, or the stress induced because of the axial force. And modulus of elasticity value is, most of the material, it is same in tension as well as in compression. Modulus of rigidity is different. Modulus of rigidity is the shear stress to the shear strain. Understood? Here, now, before proceeding further, here let me clear some few more concepts. Here, and you have to answer, unmute yourself and answer my question. Okay. Let's consider this is two metal sheets. These are the two metal sheets. This is one metal sheet. Let's consider this is another metal sheet. Okay. इसको मुझे join करने का है. I have to join them with the help of riveting joint. Yeah, there are different type of joints with the help of which we can join them. Here welded joints, here or bracing, something like that. But now here I am joining these two different plates with the help of riveted joint. So this is the rivet. Okay, this is the head, this is the bottom, this is the rivet. Yeah. Now if I apply the force on this sheet, let I apply the tensile force on this sheet. Yeah. Now you will observe that if I consider the FBD of each part, if I consider FBD of this upper plate, upper sheet, yeah, then it is subjected to the axial force, and because of this force P, the axial stresses are induced in this plate. So because of these forces, the stresses induced in the plate here are the axial tensile forces. Okay, but what will be the stresses induced because of this force on in the rivet? Which are the stresses induced in the rivet? Yeah. So if I consider FBD of the rivet, yeah, so the forces, these P forces are acting on the rivet at the junction tangential to the cross section. ये अगर क्रॉस सेक्शन कंसीडर करता हूं मैं रिवेट का, तो these forces are acting tangential to the cross section. Just imagine if I increase the magnitude of this force P gradually, one step will come when this rivet get fail. Okay, if the value of this force P go beyond the ultimate stress value in the rivet, yes, then the rivet will fail. Now, when the rivet will fail, how it will fail? Yeah. So, if I show the exaggerated view of this rivet, this is the top part. This is the bottom part. Here, so at this junction, here this rivet, these two planes of the rivet, here shear against each other. Here, when these two different planes here move tangentially against each other, when two different planes move tangentially against each other, this failure is known as a shearing failure. ये rivet यहाँ पे fail हुआ, ये fail कौन सा failure बोलते हैं इसको? This failure is known as a shearing failure. Here, why it is a shearing failure? This force P acts as a shearing force on this area. Here, actually this area is the cross-sectional area of this rivet, but this area, which is the cross-sectional area here, acts as a resisting force for this, resisting area for this force. And since this force is tangential to the cross-section, it is the shearing force for the rivet. Means I can say that ultimately, because of this force P, the stresses induced in the plate are tensile in nature, whereas the stresses induced by this force P on the rivet are the shearing stress. Here, this is a shear failure. The force acting on the rivet is shearing force. Yes, and here, if I want to calculate the shearing stress induced in the rivet, here you can say Q or tau. It is the shearing force which is P upon shearing area. Now, which is the shearing area? This is the area which get shear, which is here actually the cross-sectional area, pi by 4 into d square. D is the diameter of this rivet. This is the shearing area. This is the resisting area for this force P. Okay, so it is tau equal to P upon pi by 4 into d square. This is the shearing force on the rivet. This is the shearing area. Now you will observe that here, because of this force P, this rivet gets shear off only along one plane. only this plane, one plane, there is a shear off. There is a relative tangential motion only at one plane. First type of shearing is known as a single shear. It is known as single shear. Only one shear plane is get shear off, or only one plane is the resisting area. That is known as a single shear. Now let's consider another case. Consider this is one plate. This is another plate. Okay, three plates I am joining with the help of this rivet. Okay, now if I apply the force, here it is P, this is P, and this is 2P to balance this. And if I increase the magnitude, here this rivet will get shear off along this surface as well as along this surface. Such type of shear is known as a double shear. It is known as double shear because the shearing takes place at two different planes. This is one plane. Shearing takes place at two different planes. Okay. Yeah, this force P is acting here, and here it is 2P. Understood? This 2P is divided into two parts. Here it is P, and here it is P. Okay, here, so force, shearing force is again P here, and resisting area is this. Here, if you consider the entire part, here then it is shearing force is 2P, and shearing area is 2 times pi by 4 into d square. Because there is a double shear. The shearing takes place at the two different planes. Means here the shearing area, the area under shear. Listen carefully. Shearing area or the area under shear. In this case, it is pi by 4 into d square. In this case, it is 2 pi by 4 into d square. Why 2? Because the two different planes are in shear. That's why it is 2 pi by 4 into d square. This is a single shear. This is known as a double shear. Clear? So I hope that it is clear what is meant by shearing area or the area under shear or resisting area which resists the shearing force. Here it is different. Here it is different. Here I'll give one more example and then we'll stop. Okay, you have to answer my question. Let's consider this is one sheet, metal sheet. This is one metal sheet. I have to make a hole in this metal sheet with the help of punch. Drilling से नहीं, punching से उसमें hole करने का, punching operation use करके. Here, so this is the punch. Diameter is D. This is the punch. With the help of this, I am going to make the hole in this sheet. Okay. This is the thickness. Okay, I hope that you understood this. Okay. So, by applying the compressive force on the punch, here with the help of this punch, there are sharp edges on this punch, on the periphery, and with the help of that, I have to make this hole in the punch. Sheet. Again, let me tell you, this is the punching operation just similar to the punch what we use for making the hole in the sheets or papers. Okay, similar operation. Now, when we apply the force P on the punch, here, which are the stresses induced because of this force P? Which are the stresses induced in the punch? My first question. Which are the stresses induced in punch? I want a nature. Which type of stresses are induced in a punch? Unmute yourself and tell me the answer. Come on, fast.
Compressive.
Compressive. Okay, the stress induced on a punch, this is the punch, this is a punch, and we are applying the force. So it is a compressive force. Since it is a compressive force, so the stresses induced on the punch are the compressive stresses. Okay, and that we can calculate P upon pi by 4 into d square. For this compressive force, the resisting area is this cross-sectional area. So pi by 4 into d square. These are the stresses induced in a punch. Now because of this punch here this sheet get fail. हम लोगों को उसमें होल करने का है. होल करने का मतलब उसको फेल करने का है. इतना फोर्स अप्लाई करना पड़ेगा कि ये शीट फेल होना चाहिए. अंडरस्टूड यार. नाउ बिकॉज ऑफ दिस पंच ये जो होल होगा, दिस होल विल जनरेटेड बिकॉज ऑफ द शेयरिंग एक्शन. वहां पे शेयरिंग एक्शन होगा. अंडरस्टूड यार. ये जो फोर्स अप्लाई होता है यार थ्रू दिस पंच, दिस फोर्स इज अप्लाइड ऑन दिस along its periphery like this. Such type of force P is applied. Okay. If I show the material which will come out of this sheet, it will be such type of material. Okay, this is the diameter which is equal to the diameter of this punch. उतना ही hole होगा. Understood? This is the part which is come out of that sheet. Understood? And this force P applied on this sheet here through this punch on its periphery like this. Understood? Means on this sheet, what is the nature of this force P? The force P, the nature of the force P on the punch is compressive. I am asking what is the nature of this force P on the sheet? So it acts on the sheet as a shear force because it is tangential to this resisting area. Understood? And my next question, when we make the hole in the sheet, in this case, what is the shearing area? Which is the shearing area? If T is the thickness of this sheet, here what will be the shearing area in this case? Shearing area means actual area जहाँ पे shear हो रहा है, जहाँ पे plane एक दूसरे से slide हो रहा है, वो area चाहिए. So can you tell me what is the shearing area in this case?
सर पाई डी.
हाँ बोलो बोलो बराबर है. Correct.
Pi dt.
Pi dt. Here the shearing takes place along this surface area. This is the area where the shearing takes place. Yeah, so if this d is the diameter, so it is pi d into this thickness t. So this surface area, yeah, this is the area where the shearing takes place. In this case, if I want to calculate the shearing stress, then shearing force is P, same force is act as a shear force here. But how much is the shearing area? It is not pi by 4 into d square. How much is the shearing area here? It is pi dt. This is the resisting area for the shear force. Understood? Here, if any doubt, you send me the message on the group. Okay, and we will continue our discussion in the next lecture. Here, actually, it is enough to get the basic concept, basic understanding of the shear force, shear stress, and resisting area under shear. Yeah, thank you very much.